Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Rod. This is Rants About Gaming, and Mortal Online 2 has a new trailer out with some new patch notes. I figured we'd watch the trailer and then I'd read off the patch notes, and if you don't feel like reading through it yourself, just take a listen to this while you're on the drive to work in the morning. Alright, let's get right to it. And we have another patch for Mortal Online 2, patch 2026. It looks like they're bringing new dungeons, combat polish, dismemberment, and bear mounts. Let's go through the patch notes, shall we? So it looks like we have new light armor. A new set of craftable light armor is now obtainable. A new dungeon, a brand new dungeon, Malisar's Vault, has been added to the world. Combat mode and quick swap. A secondary weapon set has been added to the character sheet, or the new keybind in the game settings. You can also quick equip a weapon from the hotbar or inventory during combat mode. Equipped items in the action bar are now highlighted, and items equipped in your secondary weapon set have a softer highlight. The slots in the secondary set are considered new equipment slots and are treated the same way as the primary set when updating stats like weight calculations. You can now drag and drop equipment into the dedicated slots to replace them. Changing combat modes or equipment has a 1-second cooldown timer for changing again. The user can start using weapons 1 second after entering combat mode or switching weapons. They've reduced the time it takes to start eating and drinking from combat mode from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds, and they've reduced the time it takes to start eating and drinking from combat mode from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. Next up, we have combat input queuing. You can now hold down a combat input during an action, and the input will register as soon as your current action has ended. This applies to melee, archery, and the magic cast last spell / cast last spell self keybinds. This allows you to do things like hold your block keybind while in mid-swing to automatically start blocking when your swing has ended, as well as cast a spell and hold down your cast last spell keybind to automatically cast a spell repeatedly while holding the key. A new toggle setting has been added in the gameplay settings tab called Feint and Block, which when active would allow you to tap your block keybind to feint while you are charging a swing or block while idle. You can now hold down your attack keybind to tap the feint key to auto feint and start the new attack without releasing your attack keybind. Holding the feint keybind would now prevent a new attack from starting until it is released. You can now charge an attack from the blocking state. They've added a setting in the gameplay panel for enabling legacy combat for players who do not want to enable the input queue system. Next up, we got changes to ranged combat. You can now hold 50 arrows in your quiver, up from 25 from previous. Improved responsiveness with the bows by fixing a 1-frame mismatch between the crosshair and the release of the arrow. Next, we have changes to magic combat, where you can now change the target mode of a spell mid-charge / casting by pressing cast last spell for target cast and self cast for self cast. The crosshair will now show if the spell you are casting is targeting yourself or someone else. Arms are now swinging a bit when moving and casting spells, the same animation as with melee weapons. This is only visual and does not affect aiming. Next, we have changes to melee combat. Weapon durability now affects damage if below 20% durability, down from the 50% it previously was. There's also a more noticeable change in damage once the threshold is passed. Updated the animations and visual effects for blocks and parries to make them easier to see. Parry effects should no longer end up outside the screen for larger weapons. Shields now gain stamina when successfully parrying. The amount of stamina gained scales with shield weight, where lighter shields gain more stamina than heavy shields. The time a swing is released is now used to define if a hit should get parry attack bonus damage. This should fix the issue of heavier and slow weapons not dealing full damage after a parry. Up next we have mounted combat changes. You can now mount and dismount while in combat mode. Mounts now all generate stamina at the same rate. Mounts now generate stamina slowly while in 3rd speed. Mounts now only drain stamina when in 4th speed/boost. Mount armor no longer affects stamina regeneration. Mount swim speed and stamina regeneration is now 1/4 of what it is on land. Mounts have been rebalanced to have different stamina amounts. Swift riding now reduces stamina degeneration by 5%, which only happens during boost mode. Horse ability, Spur On, now regenerates 100 stamina per second and lasts 2 seconds. They fixed a bug that made melee weapons do way more damage than expected when used on mounts. This was common when jousting with lances. Fixed an issue that made lances hit twice from a mount occasionally. Other combat changes. Push is now a dedicated button. Thank goodness. And the default keybind is B. The old input for push using block plus attack has been removed. The push action now costs 10 stamina. Added an extra 10 kilograms of carry weight for everyone. You no longer need to be holding control to eat food or drink potions from the action bar. Unarmed combat now plays a swing sound. Weapon swings now have a subtle trail effect. Improve the hit effects when hitting a training dummy. Players' arms will now avoid intersecting with walls and other characters in first-person view. You are now forced out of combat mode if you try to use an unsupported weapon. They fixed a bug where the delay from eating food and drinking potions could be bypassed in combat mode by spamming the consume action. And they fixed a bug in mercy mode where the hold R to suicide prompt would flash repeatedly. Next up we have guilds and territory control updates. The keep owners now get 80%, up from 50%, of the upkeep from houses in their area added to the treasury every time the house pays upkeep. Players can no longer enter supply towers. They fixed an issue that would cause the new guild leader to not be selected when the current one left or disappeared. And they fixed an issue allowing members of the same rank to promote and demote each other. Next we have the bear mount updates. Black bears, brown bears, white bears, and undead versions from rituals are now mountable except for young bears. They updated the appearance of bear bags to work more in line with mounted players. This update affects the white, black, and brown bears and their young adult and alpha stages. Adjusted movement animations for bears to work better for mounted players. Fixed an issue where the movement animation for some bears was sliding on the ground. Next we have a gore update. Humanoids can now lose limbs when they die. Increase the time dead players and humanoid corpses stay in the world. You can now change how long player bodies stay on the ground with player corpse stay time in the video settings. Non-player humanoids that are killed now stay longer in the world before being despawned. They improved effects and feedback when executing humanoids. Humanoids that get executed with an arrow to the head now react more violently. Humanoids now show an increased amount of blood on their body the lower their health is. You now get blood added to your body when you execute something or someone. Next we have updates to mounts and pets. Increase the attack distance of the Mulva to avoid it standing inside you. They fixed an issue where mounts would bob up and down quickly in water when near the surface level. Fixed broken swimming animations for Mulva beasts. Fixed issue where the out-of-world correction did not work for mounted players. The player would be pushed away from the mount instead of correcting the mount itself. And they fixed the UI bug where you could not right-click pet equipment to unequip. Character AI and NPC changes. Spawn illusionist copies will no longer give glory. Updated attack animations and hit timings for multiple creatures that were too hard for players to read and block. Improved elbow flaring while pushing vehicles and other weird poses due to IK. Now I had to look up IK and it looks like it's something to do with how animations are affected from the point of impact. So this is just going to help animations improve the realism, I guess, on that front. Improve some IK wobble during combat transitions. Improved animation blending while swinging weapons and looking up or down. Restored the login effect for other players. Remade the spawn animation for loot bags. Fixed an issue with the Campodon statue vendor where he would accept other items than gold in the trade window. They fixed issues where rotten walkers would fall limp to the ground instead of reacting to the killing blow when other players killed them. Fixed an issue where rotten walkers would fall limp to the ground instead of reacting to the killing blow when another player kills them. Fixed a nav mesh issue in Undercroft Dungeon that could get AI stuck on the roof near statues. Fixed an issue where the death sound of a player would not be heard when killed in mercy mode. They fixed a bug where if AI HP regen was 0, AI would not gain health during leash. Fixed bug causing AI hit point regen to sometimes not tick as often as it should. Fixed issue where AI did not show an arrow when drawing a bow. And fixed issue with groups of AI that would not fully stop when reaching a player. They would often vibrate back and forth on the spot. I'm sure we've all seen that. Fixed an issue where the player arm in the ether world would not point to the camera direction when using the cow beams. Fixed an issue where spirit sounds were playing in the living world. And they fixed an issue with summoning spirits ending up above the caster. Next we have magic balance. For the Ember spell, increased damage from 22 to 27 from 25 to 28, decreased cast time from 1.4 seconds to 1 second, adjusted damage ratio from 75% blunt, 25% burn to 50% blunt, 50% burn, increased chance to ignite from 10% to 25%. Hailstone changes, increased damage from 22 through 27 to 25 through 28, decreased cast time from 1.4 seconds to 1 second, adjusted damage ratio from 75 pierce, 25 frost to be 50% pierce, 50% frost. Increased chance to apply chill from 20% to 25%. The Boulder spell, remove lodestone powder reagent cost. The Torrent spell, changed purified water reagent cost to normal water. Dust burst spell, adjusted granum powder reagent cost from 2 to 1. Stone spell, adjusted granum power reagent cost from 2 to 1. Mending vapor spell, changing purified water reagent cost to normal water. Scouring stream spell, changed purification water reagent cost to normal water. Sand spout, remove lodestone powder reagent cost. Lava ball, remove coal reagent cost. And increase damage from 22 to 28 to 28 to 32. Awe Surge no longer hits anything if you cast it on yourself. Fixed an issue that would cause the elementalism spell Dust Burst to apply a bleed debuff for 0 damage. Fixed an issue that would cause the elementalism spell Sand Spout to apply a bleed debuff for 0 damage. On to items and trinket updates. New players no longer start with the default map since you no longer need an item to see the map. Fixed an issue where the Ogmere pipe could be used while eating. The pipe now stopped the eating behavior altogether. Fixed an issue when drinking potions your taps to consume, one unit didn't count for the first 2 seconds if you were in combat mode. On to skills and clade gifts. Fixed clade gift Alvarian Sight not showing its cooldown. They also fixed mining and woodcutting, where sometimes you would need to redraw your weapon or move away from the attempted gathering spot in order to stop your action from getting cancelled. UI and interaction updates. Added key combinations to make using vendor sliders to decide how much you want to buy easier. Holding left alt will switch the range of the slider to 1 through 500 instead of 1 through 10,000. Holding left control will make the values increase in steps of 25, while holding the left shift will make the values increase in steps of 5. Added a button to go to the help center in the main menu. Added a Twitter logo on the main menu. They updated the map borders to include Cave Camp. Improved handling of client disconnects during character selection or creation. You no longer unequip items while dead. They fixed an issue where toggling horizontal mode on for action bars would make the top button misaligned. Fixed an issue where you could not log back into the game after being disconnected without restarting the game. Fixed an issue where UI elements could get stuck on the screen after logging out. Fixed a visual bug where cooldowns for skills would reset if you unhover them. They fixed an issue where you can interact with other things while holding R while in mercy mode. We have some lighting, weather, and environment updates where they changed the light intensity for placeable campfires, updated lighting for mini dungeons, the Krampus house has been rebuilt, boss room doors at Spider Queen are now less transparent, they added missing logout zone at Rizar hideout, you can no longer stand on the wall at the invisible bridge at the Necro dungeon. If you fall, you are dead. Fixed light issues in cave north of Meduli. Fixed light issues in one of the Clothos cave entrances. Fixed a gap in the Minnow dungeon. Fixed some parts of the Grizzly extraction device that were rotating when they should not have. Fixed flying vegetation in some areas. Fixed multiple spots where players could get stuck in the landscape. Next up, we have frame generation updates. This is a bit above my pay grade, but it is something graphical, and if you understand what that term means, you should definitely go check out the patch notes. Game performance updates. This just talks about garbage collection to help performance, and it talks about some adjustments to level streaming performance and some minor animation optimizations to improve CPU performance. Server and networking updates. Optimize server code for auto stacking items when you pick up a new item. Fixed issue that could create small spikes of delay in certain parts of the server. And lastly, we have known issues. Some parts of the landscape might turn invisible, but they're still there. They're waiting on Unreal Engine 5.4 to fix this. Lastly, we have third-person gore that's not showing as intended, meaning you will not see limbs fall from other players unless you kill them yourself. It does, however, work on AI. Alright everyone, that's all the patch notes for this new Mortal Online 2 update. Like if you like, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll definitely see you on the next one. Take care.